Hello and welcome to the show. I'm Eric Murphy.
I'm V La Bianca.
This is Skeptic Generation.
And we need to talk.
Hey V, how's it going?
It's going good.
Good. Could you turn up my audio a little bit? I cannot. There we go. Thank you.
We go. Okay. We are back with a new kind of microphone set.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we do that really quick, it is season 1, episode 8. And so last weekend was rough.
Yeah.
We had some amazing callers.
I think we may have had the most amazing batch of callers since starting the show. Just like in terms of the consistent quality across the board.
Yeah, back to back to back to back. We were really, really excited about it. So it's good. That means that the show is getting out. The word is getting out. And if you want to see those calls, make sure that you are sharing this show. Hit like, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell so you can see when we're putting out content, when we're about to go live. And also share this out, especially to those religious family members and friends that you want to see them have that conversation, because that's how we keep having those really, really good quality calls. So last week, I got up because I needed to use the restroom. And I'm really lucky that I muted myself, so nobody heard that. But apparently V's lav was not on or working.
Nope.
And try as we might, we were having issues. It turns out that when you add a wireless component to your show, it gets way complicated really quick. And, we realized that it's going to take us longer to build this set than we realized. And we do have use for desk mics. We thought we could do everything just with the wireless labs. It turns out we tried. It didn't really work that well. So I added mics to our Amazon wish list, and somebody bought one, and somebody else bought the cloud lifters and the cords. And so thank you so much. I reached out to my old roommate, Holy Kool-Aid, and he is letting us borrow this mic. We don't have the booms yet, but that's a whole thing. So in time, we're going to be able to have 2 mics, and hopefully this sounds a whole lot better. We're really, really excited. And we just couldn't do this without you. Thank you so much. If you do like what we do and you want to support us, consider becoming a patron. Could you hit the Patreon?
Oh, yep. Real quick. Sorry about that, guys. I'm trying to do some audio stuff.
You can go to tiny.cc/donate to SG if you want to check out that Amazon wish list. It is just gear for the studio. So if you want to see that improvement and you don't want to wait for us to, get that funding from Patreon, you can just donate direct to the studio.
Clearly, people knew we needed it last week. You're like,
Yeah.
you weren't kidding. You're in trouble.
We sincerely appreciate it. Absolutely. Also, you can visit us on Patreon, our patreon.com/skeptic generation, right?
Patreon.com/, yep.
Or tiny.cc/ donate to SG. There we go. The SG wish list is the Amazon, and if you just want to buy us a coffee, tiny.cc/tip SG. But that's enough shilling. Oh wait, we got a little bit more shilling. I know. But we have a merch store. Somebody got upset in the comments and said it's not merch, it's merchandise. Correct. We have merchandise. If you go to Redbubble, you can see the merchandise. Not only are there shirts and mugs and totes, but there's also the Book of Eric.
That was
Yay,
loud.
that was louder than normal.
Yeah.
But of course there are going to be audio issues. We're going to do our best in post to make sure we get that fixed. That said, we just came back from Kentucky.
Yeah. We, as in last night at midnight.
Yeah. Our sincerest thank you to Tri-State Freethinkers. Going out and getting to see you, having our first event, it was outdoors, and so it wasn't so much of a worry about COVID. But we went and protested the Ark Encounter. Every year there's an Ark Encounter Protest. Last year I emceed. We did this all digitally. V spoke. The year before I went out there personally and spoke, and this year both of us went out there and spoke. It is a pleasure. It is wonderful getting to see people, and after a year and a half of not getting to see people, it was just really, really nice. The flights and all of that were rough.
Yeah, oof. I am out of practice. I used to love flying. Like, airports were my favorite place to be. And I think just the combined 18 months of no travel plus the, ever-present fear of COVID is like, it made it really exhausting. So I'm going to have to exercise my travel muscle a little bit more.
Yeah, I think today we're going to need to find some time to decompress because it has been really, really tough. But it was worth it.
Oh, absolutely.
Worth
And it was so great. We got some people to come out and just say hi and like talk about the new show. And it was really, really awesome. In fact, yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Sorry about that.
No, it was okay. I was
jumping into host mode and I realized I'm co-host today.
No worries. No, we got to see friends. We got to see Mandisa Thomas. We got to see Kelly, Chrissy, and Jim Helton. We got to see Phil Ferguson and just a whole lineup of people. So it felt like a step back into a normal life, and we're really excited about it. Now, there is one other thing. We are going to be probably pushing this announcement a little more. We're going to be adjusting our Patreon. We set it up right away at the beginning of things, and everyone on Patreon who has signed up, no matter what tier, has been getting about the same stuff. And we want to make sure that when we make an adjustment, we are not taking anything away from anybody. And so we're going to do our best to figure out how to grandfather people in, while at the same time giving some perks to the people who've been those higher tier patrons this entire time.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, so I know that one of the things that we're looking at doing is on our Discord, I would love to set up a way for our OG patrons at the different levels to have these icons that they can use to kind of distinguish themselves as founding patrons. And that's why we're really looking at it, is if you've been here with us, it's only episode 8, we're considering you a founding patron. So we're finding ways to just, make that happen. So thank you. With that, I think we're about ready for calls. What do you think, V?
I think we are as well. I would love to jump in. Just so everybody knows, let's plug our phone number real quick so people can call in.
Oh, that's right.
We are having a little bit of trouble with our web calls right now. So if you're using the tiny.cc/callsg link, you might need to call back on a phone just because it seems to be a little bit of an issue.
We're doing our best. Hopefully that issue will resolve, but we'll let you know.
In the meantime, if you do want to call us, feel free to call at 585-LMURPH. That's 585-526-8774.
And then when hopefully things get adjusted, you can go to tiny.cc/callsg. Or if that's a lot to remember, if you look at our YouTube channel, in the banner, there's actually a link that says call the show. And that would also take you to the one that's not working right now.
Yeah.
One other thing before we dive into our first call. Talking to people this weekend, I don't think people realize how we're doing this. Like, we have some amazing people in the live chat who are modding. We have some amazing people who are call screening, who are helping mod the Discord, and we're even getting help from Keith in mastering the audio after the fact. But when it comes to actually doing the show, putting the show out, doing the live production and all of that, we're taking turns. The co-host, while you hear all of the clicking and all of the button and all
Which
of that,
hopefully should be a little bit better with these mics, but still.
Hopefully, you're right. Right now, today, everything from the intro to our different, transitions and all of that, V is doing all of that today. And next week, I will be doing all of that. And so that's why it seems a little bit stilted. And in time, eventually, we're hoping that we can, afford to hire a producer who could do that so we could put more direction into our calls. But it's fun. Anyway. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right, let's talk to Kale Chip in Kentucky.
All right, Kale Chip. This person sounds familiar.
Yeah, hey.
Hi! Good Sunday to you guys. How are you?
Oh, doing well. I need to adjust your audio just a little bit.
Little audio here happening.
Yeah. Hold on just a second.
Oh my God, was it way too loud or something?
No, that's okay. Can you turn me back up?
You are okay. Good. You are good.
Hey.
Okay, good.
So for people, for the people watching, Kale Chip was one of our fans who we saw at the Ark Encounter.
Yes.
Yesterday.
Oh, it was so great to actually meet you.
Yeah.
You guys too. Oh my God. Well, first of all, I have to tell the audience something very important, and that is that if they were wondering, and I know that they were, you guys are every ounce of adorable as you are in on the internet. So.
Aww.
Aw,
Yay.
thank you.
What did you want to talk about today?
Yeah. So if you recall, I showed up kind of late, so I was wondering what your favorite speech was and why.
Ooh. V, do you want to go first?
Sure. I really appreciated Mandisa's speech. I think that she brought up a lot of points that could be uncomfortable to hear in a community that values their, free thought and skepticism and inclusiveness. There are still issues that come up, and there are still groups of people who are disincluded. And so I think that bringing that to the forefront, took a lot of, courage and emotional strength from her to be able to stand up and be like, hey, this is an issue, we need to address it. Mm-hmm. But also it does counterbalance what we were doing there in the first place, which was protesting an organization that from its foundation has been very aggressive in, excluding people and discrimination. So yeah, I think her speech to me certainly spoke the truest. Definitely.
I think the title of that speech was, holding our own accountable, mm-hmm. And making sure that along our community, we're not following with those same patterns. So yeah, that was a really good speech.
Yeah.
So I was thinking it was between Mandisa and Kelly.
Kelly's was also good. So
you did Mandy. I'm going to say Kelly then. So Kelly Helton turned 17 yesterday.
Happy birthday, Kelly.
Yeah, and I turned 34 yesterday. Actually, the whole protest stopped and sang happy birthday to Kelly and I. And also, Kelly's brother, Grover, if you're watching, happy birthday. He turned 18. So we all celebrated our birthdays together yesterday. And seeing this person who has been speaking, I think she was 13?
13, 14, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this is someone who is young. They just turned 17. And their ability to just grab the audience and get them excited and get them involved and say, hey, you know what? Here is what we need to do. Here's how we can do it. Here's where to go. And this is why it's important. She was able to, just fire people up in a way that I think is incredible. And I am so excited to see where she goes. And it gives me hope for, this coming generation of skeptics. I wonder what you call that.
Anyway. A generation of skeptics.
Yeah, they're so much better than us, when we were that age, and we're excited to see where they are by the time they do get to our age. I'm just stammering all over the place. So yeah, we are hoping to get the audio and video from them, and if we can master it well and all of that, we're gonna do our best to put it out so people can get to see it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, Kale Chip, what did you think? It was your first event, right?
Yes, yeah. So I've never been an out atheist per se, but I realized I was an atheist since I was 14. So it's been like 9 years, and This was absolutely, yes, it was my first atheist event. It was surreal. It was so chill, and I don't know, I just feel so special when my people come to my home state, and it was an awesome event. The drive in the rain was worth it.
So was standing outside in the rain.
Yeah, right before the event, it was just pouring.
Oh, it was bad. In fact, the reason I'm not wearing my jacket right now today is because it's still full of rain. But it was a lot of fun to meet you and your partner and everybody else who showed up.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for coming out. And for those of you who are watching who want to see us on our next big outing, we are going to be at Faithless Forum in September.
No, November.
No? November. Thank you. Faithless Forum in November. I don't know if tickets are still available for sale. They usually sell out super, super quick.
I don't think they've actually been announced yet.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Did I do a thing I'm not supposed to do?
Well, I don't think you did a thing you weren't supposed to do because I think it's still in November, but don't worry, tickets are not for sale yet. So.
Oh, well, when they do get announced and they are for sale, we hope to see all of you out there because, gosh, that's going to be fun. It's going to be right here in Austin. It's going to be an atheist YouTuber convention, and you're going to get to see all of us, and it's going to be great. So there's Faithless Forum this fall.
Yes.
Winter? Is it winter yet? No, it's fall.
I don't.
Anyway, there's
on.
that. And also, I have a debate in February at Ohio State University with Dean Meadows. So if you're not able to make it out to Austin, but you can make it to Ohio State in February, you get to see us there too. Anyway. Kale Chip. It was good.
Can you still hear me?
Yes, it was wonderful talking to you.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
It's okay.
Yeah, it was great talking to you. I just realized right after we left that I forgot to show you guys our bumper stickers that we were talking about. So what's your email?
Oh, you can email us at contactskepticgeneration@gmail.com.
Okay, awesome.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thanks so much for calling in, Kale Chip.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Oh, that's so fun.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Also, I did want to throw this out as well. We got a couple people who watched the show like, man, I can't make it to Kentucky or Ohio or Austin. I live in this location that is not central in that regard, and honestly, the only thing that's stopping us from going more places is the ability to actually get there and stay there in a cost-effective way. So if you want us to come out and speak at your group or your event, or even just like hang out for a meet and greet, that's absolutely something we would love to do.
Yeah.
Now that the world is hopefully opening back up a little bit, we would love to be able to do that. Get in touch. Contact us at contactskepticgeneration@gmail.com to talk with us about possibly setting something up.
Absolutely. I really do stammer a lot. Somebody pointed out in a comment this last week that I
is it top
stammer,
of mind now?
and now it's right in the front of my head, but that's okay because hopefully that will help me stop doing it.
Also, we're just kind of exhausted overall. You're probably just like, you need a drink and a nap.
Speaking of, before we head over to Glen, our outros. I really screwed up the outro.
It was so bad, you guys.
So we were talking about it, and we thought, we can see super chats, and so if you wanted to super chat your suggestion for the outro, maybe we could try that.
Yes, please help us. I have one on standby in case nobody does anything, and it will be better than red paint, blue paint.
Hey, that's one of my favorite jokes.
But if you have a suggestion, feel free to super chat it to us. We read super chats at the end of the episode anyway. So we would love to be able to maybe choose yours or use it next time.
Yeah. All right, let's move on and talk to Glen in Colorado. Glen, you're live with Eric and V. How's it going?
Well, it's doing good. How are you guys?
Doing really well.
Good.
What did you want to talk about today?
I was just calling in to see if you guys have a way to determine the probability of any particular god.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, that is something that we like to talk about. There is when I hear the probability of a god, the first thing I think of is Bayes' theorem, which is frustrating because that's been co-opted by a lot of apologists to mean like, oh, well, I did a calculation and can talk about in numerical form how probable the resurrection is, or dying on the cross or whatever. And I think it's misapplication of probability to try and assign numbers to things we cannot know and things that are unfalsifiable. But that's just me. What do you think, Eric?
I think that we can get rid of a whole lot of stuff with a machete pretty easily. And that is that before we can get to probability, we need to determine possibility first. If something is impossible, there's no probability for it. It doesn't even get to play. You know, it doesn't get to be a part of the discussion, because if it's impossible, then it's out. So first, establish that it's possible. And then look at the evidence and go, okay, here's what, you know, would be the case if X, you know, so, and then determine the probability from there. We don't really have the numbers, you know, to be able to do that in a lot of claims of, you know, supernatural experiences. And because of that, I think that people dive into wanting to talk about probability, and they shouldn't. They should be talking about possibility. Show that it's possible first, and then we can talk about whether or not it's probable. So when it comes to a lot of different God claims, people will say a God is omnipotent, right? All powerful. Well, there are some paradoxes there. All powerfulness, even if we did really understand what that meant, which we're granting a lot by doing that, it's not possible. And because of that, we can rule out probability from the start. You know, a God that is both all-knowing, all-loving, and all-powerful would be seeing all of the terrible, you know, things that happen in the world, is there to stop it, can stop it, and doesn't. That would negate the idea of it being all-loving. And so we just, we listen to the claim, and then we try and determine whether or not it's possible. And every once in a while we get into probability, but most of the time they're impossible claims.
That makes a lot of sense. Should we just talk about possibility instead yet? Not yet. Now, because I really like Bayes' theorem, so don't want to drive V mad with it.
Well, so for people who don't understand the Bayes' theorem bit, V, do you want to give people kind of a little more inside scoop about what we're talking about?
Oh gosh, that is something that I still need to do a lot of research on. The best explanation of Bayes' theorem that I've come across is, I don't know if you guys know TMM, the channel TMM. It's a channel where the YouTuber behind it will go over apologists' talking points and just kind of bang them out one by one, like no, 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 no. And it's very nice. And he did one about Bayes' theorem and William Lane Craig. And essentially what it comes down to, or at least what William Lane Craig's version comes down to, is either there was a resurrection and Jesus rose from the dead, or that it was a lie, or that didn't happen at all. And the way he calculates it using Bayes' theorem, he's like, well, the numbers prove that it's more probable that it actually did happen than it didn't happen at all. And the issue is that it becomes a situation with a false dichotomy, right? Where you're like either A or B, when in fact, it's really a spectrum, and there's a whole lot of room for movement and a whole lot more factors to consider that make that calculation pretty much useless. So you have to really become super basic with your understanding of a series of events and kind of completely ignore all the variations in order to actually run that calculation in a way that works for you if you're an apologist. But, you know, that could just be William Lane Craig dumbing it down, quote unquote, for everybody who's watching. In that case, it's still useless, because if it's supposed to be a method to get the average person saved, and you have to dumb it down to the point where it doesn't make any sense, then that's a problem as well.
And I want to go in a different direction with it. The way I've seen Bayes' theorem used by apologists, and if you're an apologist and you want to call in correct, please, now is the time. I'd love to see if we've got the link working again. So tiny.cc/callsg to talk to us online. We've got lines open right now, so call in. We want to hear from you. But the way I understand it, and the way I've encountered it, is here's a bad argument, okay? Here's another bad argument, okay? You know, and you stack on 7 bad arguments, and even if any of them have any value at all, if any of them are convincing at all, then in the aggregate, built together, it's more convincing. And so they'll say, oh, well, you know, there are, 10,000 miracle claims. Even if, a fraction of those were true, then the fact that it's not 0, they add together, and it makes it far more likely that God exists. And I think that's crap. I think 10 crap arguments are just as bad as 1 crap argument, and if you want to use math to try and make yourself sound smart about it, okay. Call in, we can talk about it, but it's a house of cards. I think that if you're relying on a bunch of bad arguments to support your claim, you're only as strong as your weakest link there, and
right.
They're all pretty weak links. So, yeah. Glenn, can you hear us?
Yes.
Yeah. Did you have any other questions before we moved on to the next caller?
Yeah, kind of. It's
Glenn? And we're having trouble hearing Glenn.
That's so strange.
Yeah, Glenn, thank you for calling in. We'll go ahead and drop the call, and that's okay. Thank you for calling. Let's move on to the next. I know that we have a lot of open space, but that is okay. Oh, no.
That wasn't a good sound.
No, that was not good at all. Mm-hmm. So we're going to need to do that thing that
where V vamps.
Where V vamps and where Eric calls in and Bree connects us. So it's going to get a little bit loud. Please be patient. We're going to do our absolute best.
Do you want to... there's probably no way to mute without muting me as well. So fun story. Ken Ham actually tweeted about our protest this morning.
Yeah?
And apparently somebody was there taking pictures. So either somebody sent them our photos, or they had somebody there taking pictures of us undercover, which is kind of creepy. But it says a group of 50 atheists. 50 atheists. That's a lot.
There was a lot of us.
I mean, for the weather that we had that day, that's a lot of people. A lot of people showed up. A group of 50 atheists associated with a local atheist group, Tri-State Freethinkers, Ken, that's who you're thinking of, conducted their annual protest against the Ark Encounter on Saturday, while 7,700 people visited the Ark and over 10,000 total at Ark and Creation Museum the same day. I feel like that's a very weird way to admit that the Creation Museum is not very popular.
I mean, if you're saying that your amusement park got more people than protesters,
I mean,
okay.
Yeah. One of the items they claim they're protesting is that the Ark only employs Christians who sign our statement of faith. And then in parentheses, he says, as a federal court ruled we could in accord with the 1964 Civil Rights Act and freedom of religion. Okay. See, the issue there is that they can totally do that as a church, right? But they're also getting government funding as a business. So that's the tricky part there. So yes, okay, if you are a church, you absolutely can determine who gets employed by that organization due to the freedom of religion, right? But if you are a business and you are getting federal dollars to subsidize that business, that's when it becomes an issue. So not a lot of truth here from Ken Ham. Shocker.
Yeah. And also, if you're getting, tons and tons of tax credits, that counts as well. Just because you didn't get it as cash doesn't mean that you're not receiving that funding and support. So, no. I think we should have calls again. Let's see if we can pick it up, yeah?
Okay, let's try this. Give me a quick second while I get back into the movie-making magic piece of things.
V, thank you so much for vamping.
That is my job, apparently. All right.
Appreciate it. Tobin, in Texas, you're live with Eric and V. What did you want to talk about today?
Hello.
Hi.
I would like to talk about the concept of belief.
Okay, what about it?
Perfect.
I don't. As a child, I learned that I did not like the concept of belief.
Okay.
I don't use the idea of belief. I don't like to fall on the claim that I know something as truth.
Okay.
Okay. So what about it did you want to talk about?
Well, one, I'm trying to find out, what do you call that type, like philosophically, like where do I land?
That's a good question. So essentially, you are talking about. This is interesting though, because if you don't hold any beliefs, do you hold to do you know JBT, the justified true belief theory of knowledge?
Of truth.
Truth? No. Truth?
No, knowledge. You're right. You're
Right.
right. JTB
And I have
truth.
a problem
Or
with
JTB
that.
knowledge.
Yes.
I also have a problem with it. So you're saying that you don't have beliefs. Can you still have knowledge though? Where is that distinction for you definitionally?
I can say things are most likely, it is possible, plausible. You know, the odds of something happening,
Mhm.
there's more, I use reason and things like that, but I try my best to not make like just outright claims and then stay on it as this is truth.
Yeah.
Like I have made it a habit, and I think I've gotten pretty good about it.
That's
But
fantastic.
I often get people. I often have people assert that I have to have a belief.
Okay. Well, let's untangle this just a little bit. So the idea that you should have 100% confidence in everything that you understand about the world, you're never going to get out of bed. That's just not how that works. And I don't think that that's how anybody actually does it. And the way that you're talking about it is you're assigning a degree of confidence to a claim and apportioning that degree of confidence to the evidence available. So you wake up in the morning and you want to have breakfast. What are the odds that there are breakfast foods in your house versus what are the odds that Bigfoot is in your house, right? Those are two different claims, and you're apportioning your confidence to the evidence available. So with that said, I still use all of that language. I can still say I believe a thing. I can still say I know a thing. I can still say that I have confidence in a thing or that something is true. But I view it as lowercase t true, not capital T true. Right. And all that means is that if there's evidence that shows that I'm wrong, I'm going to go, holy crap, okay, I need to reevaluate and change that confidence level and change my opinion. I'm not going to drag my feet. I'm not going to plant myself and stick my head in the dirt. That's just kind of how we go about it. So if somebody says you need to have a belief, well, let's look at the definition of that, right? Belief is something that you accept to be true. Do you have any beliefs about anything? Do you accept anything to be true or likely true? Is it belief that I'm thinking of? Yeah.
It is most likely that, but
right. So I believe that.
I just lost myself.
No worries, Tobin. I'm pretty confident that you exist, and that you're not just a construct of my imagination. Right. I've got evidence in my life that points to that. I can go, hey, you know what? Here's why I feel justified in my confidence level that Tobin exists. Perfect. I can say that. I think that just because you're moving away from black and white thinking and moving into confidence levels for truth, that doesn't mean that you can't use the same language. If somebody says you have to have a belief, are they specifically talking about a God claim, or what are they talking about?
No, it is pertaining to the concept of belief. Okay. I've recently had a discussion where the person was just asserting I have to believe, and I disagree. But it's not that big of a deal. It's just something that like I've started to think about a lot, and I don't know. I'm trying to understand myself.
Sure.
That is a really good thing to think about. I love the concept of apportioning confidence based on evidence. I think that, for the most part, is going to put you in the right direction. What I would call that, just off the top of my head, is agnosticism, right? Like this concept of we cannot know things, therefore we must make claims based on only what we can, conceive of. So the concept of is there a God or is there Bigfoot? Well, I can't say for sure that I believe that to be the case. But based on my understanding of the world and the evidence that I've seen so far and my own, set of preconceptions, this is the percentage that I am assigning this as far as belief value.
I disagree with you.
Again?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
So hold on just a second. The way you're defining agnosticism, is it that you can't know?
Yes.
Okay. So if you can't know, how can you ascribe any degree of confidence? If you can't know, definitionally, wouldn't it be 0?
No, not necessarily. I'm defining no in this instance as being 100% certain.
Got it.
Right.
That it is true.
Right.
Okay, so is the word no useful at all in that case?
Here's the thing, and I might get a pile on for this. I think trying to define the word no in this context is useless every single time. I cannot think of a time where defining no is useful in any real world context. So in what sense, no, I don't think that using the word no is useful.
Okay, there's a silent K in half of those.
No.
Let's say knowledge.
Knowledge. Defining knowledge is not useful in a real world context. Philosophically, it's fun to bat around. Pragmatically, linguistically, it's fun to dissect. But in a real world context, knowledge is a useless concept. It's just how certain are you? And yeah.
Wow. You know what? This is how the debate started with me and the other person. It wasn't belief. It was knowing things. And I was saying it's most likely that everything that you know is information and experiences that a person has had. It's all the memories of information and experiences a person has. That's what knowledge is to me.
Got it. Can we give you a different definition?
Sure.
Okay. If you believe it and you're justified in it, and I don't know if it's true. If you believe it, you're justified, and it happens to be true. How about that?
No, it's useless.
Because most people use that as knowledge,
right, well,
instead of saying, your collected experiences and all of that, because it can get kind of messy if we put criteria on it.
Right, because that's why it's useless. Because, Tobin, I think that's a really good definition of knowledge. Unfortunately, that knowledge can then move from person to person with equal validity, right? If we say that knowledge is a series of experiences and what was the other one you used? Information and experiences contained in your own, memory and your brain, that makes our form of knowledge and what we know just as valid as somebody who we might disagree fundamentally with about an issue, right? A lot of theists we talk to say that they have information and experiences that give them knowledge of God. So while I think that is definitely an option, the issue is that it opens up the floor to everyone having knowledge about conflicting things.
Yeah.
Well, don't we all know things that are conflicting? Doesn't that already happen?
This is where I was batting it
really
around.
Interesting.
Right.
Y'all are hitting on something I've been thinking on so hard.
Okay, so in philosophy, this is where the batting it around comes in.
Right.
So there are 3 criteria: justified, true, and belief. Right? All those 3. And you can attack them and see if they hold up. And that's why a lot of people use JTB, justified true belief, as the model for knowledge.
Right.
And so if they say, okay, you say you know a thing, what's your justification? Well, I believe the sun is going to rise in the morning because I, got a secret message in my alphabet soup, last night.
Does anyone have that on their SG bingo card, alphabet soup? If it's not already on there, it should be.
I don't say it that often.
You say alphabet soup and Bigfoot very often.
Okay, fair. Way to call me out, V. But just, if that's your justification, then I can attack that justification and say, you don't know that the sun's going to rise in the morning based on your alphabet soup, right? That's not going to work. Okay, well, let's say you have a good justification, and that justification is that the sun has risen every morning up until this point, and you have a keen understanding of the way that the planets revolve around the sun, and you have a high degree of certainty for that. So cool, that's a good justification. Is it true? Yes. Do you accept it to be true? Do you believe it? Yes. Okay. That hits justified true belief. But yeah, if you attack its truth, and you say, hey, I know a thing, and well, that's not true, then you're attacking that person's, that knowledge claim, and you can kind of wipe out knowledge. If it's not true, you wipe it out. If you don't believe, believe it in the first place.
What comports with reality.
Yes. And so you can test somebody's knowledge claim, and if it doesn't comport with reality, then the T part of JTB, the truth part, you can say, hey, it's not true, you don't know that. And you kick it out. And the last one is belief, and that's easy enough. If you're saying something you don't even believe, then you can't know it if you seriously don't believe it.
For somebody who doesn't like JTB, you've made a pretty strong case for its use.
Yes. Do you want me to attack JTB now?
Tobin, what do you think? Do we want Eric to break that down that he just built up?
Yeah, why not? I'm game.
So why is it unhelpful then?
So I'm not coming up with this. There are some much smarter people than me.
AKA, don't get mad at me.
No, it's the fact is we're looking at justified true belief. Cool. What if you're coincidentally right? What if your justification seems great, and the conclusion seems true, and you believe it, but it's a coincidence, right? You know that V has 75 cents in their pocket, but what you pointed at to get there. Seems great, but somewhere along the way, they changed the amounts of money in their pocket, and they just wound up with 75 cents still at the end. Does that mean that your knowledge of that 75 cents in their pocket really gets you there? I mean, the example that I got in philosophy was you look out at a field of sheep, and you see, 12 sheep. Okay, cool. I know, there are 12 sheep there. Well, actually, on closer inspection, one of them's a sheepdog. So there are 11, right? You attack that knowledge. You attack the truth claim, right? That that one of the sheep that you counted is a sheepdog. Well, unbeknownst to you, there's a hill somewhere with a sheep hiding behind it that you didn't see. So when you said there are 12 sheep, were you justified? Yeah, all the ones you counted were there. Was it true? Yeah, there are 12. Do you believe it? Yeah, but you were wrong still. You were wrong in that you counted a sheepdog as a sheep, and you're only coincidentally right. And because of that, there are some really weird situations, and I think we need to rework the JTB, model because of that.
I agree. There's things in philosophy that are like in the school of philosophy that I read, and I see contradiction, and I'm like, that doesn't work for me. It doesn't help me in my everyday life. I like things to be useful. I like there to be some kind of way to put it to use.
And that's where V's comes in.
I agree with you. I think that philosophy is great as an exercise, and I think that to a certain extent it can help us in real life, as Eric is fond of saying. Math is a kind of philosophy, and all of these other understudies of that realm have come about because of it. The scientific method is part of that as well. So there are ways where philosophy can concretely impact our day-to-day life. At this point, especially for these kinds of conversations, it really does become kind of like just it almost feels to me like when you watch a TV show with somebody and you start coming up with theories about how it's going to end, right? You don't really know, and you're basing it off of all of the information you've got. Maybe they've got a different conclusion, right? I think Loki is going to end this way, and Eric says, "Well, no. Did you consider this, this, and this?"
We didn't get to catch Loki this week.
I know we're going to do
a
marathon after this.
Yes.
But I think it's very similar to that. It's fun. It connects you to the other person. You might get your mind changed about something, but how useful is it? And when we're talking about knowledge, whether we're using the JTB model or another model to determine that, I feel like it really is a useless concept in real life, because you could be right about a thing you could be wrong about a thing Why does it matter that you know the thing if it doesn't actually have any bearing on how true that thing is independently of outside evidence? There's no reason except for you to say, this is something I hold as fundamental to my worldview. And that's important to understand Tobin, right?
Yeah.
That's important for me to know about you, see what I did there, to be able to better understand where you're coming from and maybe take a different direction in our conversation. But apart from bettering communication with other people, it doesn't actually mean that anything is true or false to say you know a thing. So when we're determining truth, knowledge is useless.
I'm going to need to listen back to that and see whether or not I disagree with you, because I think you lost me a little bit along the way, but...
oh gosh, I hope I didn't lose everybody.
I'm not sure. Tobin? How about this then? Let's split the difference. When you're talking to your friend, if the word knowledge is getting in the way of moving the conversation forward, then define belief or what you accept to be true, and see if you can continue that conversation. What's really important is that you're understanding each other and are able to have a valuable discussion from that. So if they say, well, you need to believe something, then break down what they mean by believe. Do you accept it to be true? You can accept something to be true without it being 100%. If they think you need to be 100% confident in a thing to accept it to be true, I would fight back on that. Say, no, I have a high degree of confidence in this. I accept it to be true. That's okay. You can believe things like that.
Right on.
Yeah. Hopefully that helped.
Yeah, this is a good conversation.
Yes, it does. And really, yes. One thing that philosophy, I think the value that I get from it is like these types of interactions, and I appreciate them. I think it helps me think even better and be able to make better predictions and interact with my world better. I really appreciate y'all taking my call. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Thanks so much for calling in, Tobin. That was a great question.
Yeah, take care. I think that one's going to be something I think about.
Yeah, we're going to have arguments about this afterwards. Hey, do you want us to stream it? Do you want us to stream? Okay. Yes or no in the live chat.
Somebody's going to take us out of context when we say something to just batting around an idea.
Yes or no.
And it's going to be terrible.
In the live chat, would you like an unlisted, for subscribers only, live stream of us having this conversation?
Ooh. What if we put up a poll this week?
Ooh.
Let's do that. Let's put up a poll with this call.
Yeah. We'll put up a poll.
Okay.
And we'll see who wants that, because that would be fun.
Cool.
That would be really fun.
So, we've had somebody who has been fighting the tech issues that we've been having on the back end this entire time. Robin, from last week has called in, has dropped, called in again, dropped, called in again. I think that's the number of times. The fact that they have been persistent in trying to communicate, we're so excited about it. Robin in DC.
Welcome back, Robin.
Yeah. How are you doing today?
Hello, thanks for having me. I'm good. How are you guys doing? Am I coming in well, by the way?
You are. I'm
coming
going to
in
bump your volume up
buttery
just a
smooth.
little bit, but that is a good microphone you got there.
Yeah. What did you want to talk about?
Thank you. Well, I know last week there were some questions you had about my position, but I'd also like to ask some more follow-up questions about what you guys have as your worldview
Sure.
as it pertains to this matter.
Okay.
So, whatever you want to do first.
All right, we may be able to just knock the question that we had for you out of the way if you wanted to answer it, and we can move forward.
Yeah.
Just honestly, right now I'm having just a second. So I'm having a moment of cloudiness. I believe last week when you called in, we ended with us talking about revelation as a way of coming to understand true
Revelatory
things.
epistemology.
There we go.
Yes.
Thank you, Fee. And we asked you how we can determine whether or not something is a revelation from God or somebody talking to themselves, or how we can determine your revelation and V's revelation. Both of them don't agree with each other. So how do you determine which one is correct and which one isn't? Was that the question that we had for you? Because I'm pretty sure that was at least close to the mark.
Yeah, it was essentially it was on that same. It was essentially that whole idea.
Okay.
So yes, now I know this is going to sound circular to you, and I will actually concede to you that it is. Okay. But the way you know which revelation is true and which revelation is false is on the basis of God's revelation itself. Okay. Now, in my worldview, truth is that which concords or which corresponds to the mind of God. Okay. So truth is ultimately going to be dictated by how God has organized the world, and how God has organized the universe around it. Okay.
Can I ask you a question?
Ultimately, everyone's.
Or actually, sorry, I'm going to put a pin in it because I want you to finish your statement. I just, the correlating truth to the mind of God, I really want to dive into. But please go ahead and finish your statement.
Yeah, just very quickly.
Yeah.
Ultimately, everyone's like epistemology is going to be going on one of the three horns of the Munchausen trilemma, which is either circularity, axiomatic truth, or an infinite regress. So I'm going to be on the horn of circularity, meaning that God's revelation is ultimately going to be the basis of my knowledge. And because God cannot, and the Bible says God cannot swear by anyone higher than himself, so he swore by himself, right? So his revelation is self-attesting. So it's going to be circular in that regard.
Okay. That actually gives us a lot of information, and thank you for clarifying. We obviously are not going to agree, and we're going to talk about it, but the fact that you called in and said, hey, all cards on the table, here's where I'm at, and here's the best understanding, or the best way I can communicate it so that we can talk about it. Cheers to you. That's awesome.
Well, thanks.
Yeah. So the circularity, I kind of want to also put a pin in, but before we get into circularity, I kind of want to ask you, so it sounds like you're saying that truth implies a God, that without God there is no truth. Would that be correct?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so you point to something, you say that's true, therefore God, because I think can only be true if God exists.
Yeah, actually, it's transcendental reasoning, meaning that we start with a fact in question, and then we reason to what is a necessary precondition for those facts. So yes, I would say that all things derive necessarily from God.
Okay. So diving into kind of where the big hit is for the transcendental argument, it sounds like you're saying that we don't have access to truth at all.
That's partially what I'm saying, but not entirely. I do believe that all people have knowledge. So people can know things to be true, but where I would deviate is that I would say that on the basis of a non-believer's worldview, on that basis, on their own terms, they've destroyed their own ability to know things.
Got it. Ooh. Can I say that back to you?
That's where I would stand.
Can I repeat?
Go
repeat
ahead.
that back to you in a different way? Robin, are you?
Yeah, go ahead.
Sure. Are you saying that we are accessing truth through God the same way you are, and that the reasoning we're using is something separate, but because we're using knowledge, claims, and we're talking about truth, that we're all kind of on the God part of things?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do you think that's very convincing, I guess, first of all? I know there are lots of other parts of tag, but that one in particular, saying, hey, I'm right. You can only say things because I'm right. The basis before we start is because I'm right.
Yeah.
Do you think that part is very convincing to a non-believer?
I don't expect anyone to just take. I don't expect anyone to take what I'm saying and instantly agree. That's why we would have a conversation about that, and
Sure.
I would explain my reasoning behind it. So no, I don't expect me just saying it. Someone just going to take it and then
Can I ask a question?
Immediately change their opinion.
I appreciate that, Robin, and I think that makes a lot of sense, that nobody would, on a dime flip their belief because of that statement. But you said you're going to explain your reasoning to us. As non-believers, can we understand your reasoning? Or if we aren't convinced by your reasoning, is that just more proof to you that we don't have access to your reasoning to begin with?
I think anyone with basic reasoning skills can understand what I'm saying. You don't have to agree, but I think you could understand what I'm saying. What I will say is that I don't think that atheism is rational at all, given their own worldview. So I don't think that that's the case, that it's irrational. But you can understand the arguments. You're on a talk show. You listen to arguments all the time. I think you'd have a basic capacity to understand arguments, just like anyone else, right? So.
That's very.
I wouldn't
that's very
see a
nice
problem
of you,
with.
Robin.
Okay.
You're being a lot nicer to Robin than I would be. So go ahead.
No, that's okay. We're on our way. Okay. So Robin. Give me just a second. I'm sorry. For some reason, I'm just a little foggy today. V, do you want to pick back up? Because I had a really, really important thing to go down and I lost it.
We were talking about how whether or not reasoning could be tied to agreement. And I like that Robin said that you might follow my reasoning and still disagree, because that is going to be important later on. So when we tell you, and I can predict, because divine revelation, that we are going to disagree, at least you won't be able to say then it's just because you can't reason.
Well, I would say that there's no rational basis to disagree, even if you do disagree. And we can go into that, but I would just say that.
I think he's assuming that we're just using divine revelation, but we're not admitting it. We're just lying about it.
Would you say that? Would you say we're lying about it, or would you say we don't have access to it?
I believe all people have access to God's revelation in one way or another.
Do we know that we have
so
access
last
to
week
it?
I talked about natural. You have enough knowledge for your condemnation, yes.
Okay. Just enough to get us
and
kicked
so,
out.
like, for example.
Well, yeah. I just really quickly, because I don't want to get too far off base here. So we are we're damn it, now I lost it again. You brought it up, and
reasoning and acceptance. Agreement.
Okay, keep going.
I said there's no rational basis to disagree. I said, what?
Oh!
I think that was probably the only thing I added. I said that there's no rational basis to disagree, but I don't think I said anything else other than that.
No worries. Okay. Actually, just before that, you had stated that we have to get down to a minimum, right? What is required to have, claims, right? Or how would you describe that?
The basic rationalization to condemn us.
No, he said something else. Could you say that again?
I mentioned I called it specifically. I specifically said I reason transcendentally, meaning that we start with the fact in question and then we reason to what is necessary for those things.
Okay. So, do you think a God is necessary for reason?
Yes, metaphysically, yes.
Okay. Do you think a universe is necessary for reason? Like if there's no universe where, you know,
when you say universe, you're just talking about.
I'm talking about our understanding, the universe we're in, where A equals A doesn't equal not A, and A cannot be A and B at the same time, right? Where the laws of logic are in place, where we have this kind of understanding that something that weighs, 5 pounds here is going to weigh 5 pounds here in 2 minutes. You know, this consistency of physics, right? I consider that to be the universe. Do you need a universe for reason to exist?
Yeah, I mean, if you're just gonna, if it's just like the laws of logic, those kind of things, I would say that for logic, I would say yes, because God's thinking. So
okay, so
the laws of logic would need to be in place.
Okay, so what if I said I agree with you with the laws of logic, and I think that that's enough? Could you convince me why the next step is necessary?
Yeah. Well, why are the laws of logic true?
Because we have yet to determine that they are not true.
Well, I mean, it's circular.
That would be.
You get to the problem of induction, right? And using what you talked about, yeah, it's circular, but I think that's a good stopping point. Why do you need more? Right? The laws of logic prove the laws of logic.
Right. So that will then get to that's actually slightly different. What your statement is slightly different from what I said, because I said that the laws of God exists, and I know that God exists because He's revealed Himself. That's different from what you said slightly, and it's actually I would call it a big distinction. But before I get to that, I want to say that when I ask this kind of a question, okay, I'm specifically asking to get knowledge on the other person on what they hold to be foundational, what is singularly the basis for all things. So would you say that the laws of logic are that which is singularly ultimate, meaning that they are the cause and the basis of all other things?
We already talked about ultimate. We can't use ultimate the way you use it.
Okay, I just say, do you believe that there's something that singularly is the basis, the causal origin necessarily for all things?
There is a difference between something that we consider to be necessary to be rational, the laws of logic, and the origin of all things, right? You're lumping these things together. Yes. The laws of logic have nothing to do with the origin of the universe, as far as I can tell. They don't need to. There's no correlation there that is necessary.
Well, that's why I said they're two different things. Like when I talk about God is the basis for all things. You're talking about the laws of logic. That's not the basis for all things. That's why I'm asking you, in your worldview, what is the basis causally for all things, including rationality, including intelligibility?
Yeah, I think that's a bogus question, because I think that's a bogus idea. You don't need that. I think that is. I think you're proposing that we need that.
Does my coffee maker play music on the piano? No? Well, then it doesn't exist. There are different uses for different things. We are saying that if we want to talk about rationality and reason and having a productive conversation, we can agree on the laws of logic together because we both agree that those exist, and move on from there, because to us, that is the stopping point. To you, you add another stopping point, which is God. We haven't been convinced that God exists, so let's just use the laws of logic and move forward. For conversations around cosmology and where the universe came from, that's an entirely different conversation to have, and we can have that one, but it doesn't tie into this one at all. Not on our end.
Okay. So if there is nothing that you find to be singularly the causal origin, the causal basis for these things, where then how are they unified?
So again, I think
where does correlation come from?
Robin, we didn't say that. To clarify, we didn't say,
you didn't say what?
We didn't say nothing is the cause or the origin of all things. We're saying that the question itself, carries a weird implication, and because of that, we can't really answer it. We can't really engage with it. I mean, if we're talking about, you know, a necessary origin for all things, we have to agree that there needs to be a necessary origin for all things first, and then we can kind of determine what that necessary origin is. But we're not even at a point where we can engage with it honestly. We would need to grant a whole lot in order to get there, but we're not there yet. I think we need to be convinced that there needs to be a necessary origin for all things first. You know, that is the basis for all things, right? The language that you were using, we need to be convinced that we need it first, and then we can move on.
Yeah, well, that's kind of what I mean. If there is nothing singularly ultimate, and I mean, I know you guys don't like the word, but just being clear on what I mean when I say ultimate just meaning what is the basis for all things. If there's nothing that is singularly that, okay, then things like correlation between these things, you're not going to have, if everything is, let me see how to put this, if everything is, you know, distinct and independent of each other, okay, then you can.
Robin,
you still there?
Robin, we lost you. Did you possibly hit
ground them in something else?
Oh, there you go. You're back. We lost you for a good second there.
Oh, okay. All right, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, you were saying if we think that everything is distinct, then you cut out.
Oh yes. Then there would be no basis for you to assert that there is a grounding for their correlativeness, that they are correlated to each other.
Okay.
That there is a unity amongst them.
So let's put that in practice. I think that V exists. I also don't think that there's a singularly ultimate thing out there, but I know that V is different than me. I can differentiate, and I can talk about correlations. I'm not relying on a singularly ultimate thing to make those comparisons.
Are they actually correlated, or is there an illusion of correlation that you've made in your mind? Does your mind correlate them, or are they actually correlated ontologically?
That's a good question. I like that. I would say that a lot of the correlations that we think that we see are actually in our own minds. I think that a large portion of neuroscience, especially the concept of heuristics and type 1 and type 2 thinking, would show you that a lot of the correlations that we see, a lot of the assumptions and connections that we make between things, is actually just the way our brain is structured to allow us to survive better and see patterns. That doesn't mean that there are no correlations at all. We can find actual correlations by using the scientific method to determine if A impacts B in certain conditions or not. So yes and no.
Okay.
Yeah. I gotta ask. It sounds like you're getting to a point where you're saying, please correct me if I'm wrong. I might be skipping ahead here. It sounds like you're implying that there's something outside of us that you're appealing to. You are stuck in your own head, aren't you, Robin? We all are.
No, I would say that in my worldview, God is that which grounds correlation. The fact that God is a Trinity, right? There's oneness and there's manyness in His person, or not in His person, in His nature.
I have no
idea.
And
so because of that,
I have no idea how that's related. I asked you if you're stuck in your own head. Like,
I'm not. I don't know.
Okay, so
you can escape your head?
Well, yes. So when you take in sensory data, like you look at a thing, does it not go through your eyes and get processed by your brain?
Yes, it does.
Okay, when you think about things, are you using your brain?
Sure.
Okay, so it sounds like you're in the exact same boat as us.
He has the
no,
God
not
antenna.
at all, because that which is foundational in your framework would be different from what it is in mine. It's all about how you account for certain things, not whether or not they exist at the moment. Although I would say that according to your framework, you can't say that they do exist.
So honestly, that's like saying, hey, you know what? You really need headlight fluid in order to, drive at night safely. No, you don't. Headlight fluid's not a thing. Please show me that you need this God, this singularly ultimate thing, in order to ground your beliefs, because right now it's right up there with headlight fluid.
That's a really good thing. Robin, give us an example of something that you know that we can't know, that we can go and try and verify without using a God antenna.
No, I didn't say you can't know certain things. I believe that you can know things. That's not an issue.
And
The issue is how you can account for knowledge.
Lying.
Well, I mean, we might be lying to ourselves.
No, I didn't say that either.
Okay, so we can know, we don't know. Why don't we know?
No, I didn't say you don't know. I'm saying that you can account for knowledge given your framework.
Okay.
Those are two different things entirely.
Right. Okay. So Robin, I think that this God concept, this singularly ultimate concept, is a red herring. I think it's unnecessary. I think it's unproductive, and I think it's terribly not useful or helpful. I don't see a reason why we need this idea of a singularly ultimate thing to ground our knowledge. That idea is bunk, as far as I'm concerned. And so instead of, because it sounds like you're repeating, well, you need a singularly ultimate thing. Why do we need a singularly ultimate thing? You responded that you can't correlate things otherwise.
Hello?
We just showed that we can. Oh, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can. I saw you. You just cut off for like a half a second.
No worries. You said, okay, well, if we don't have the singularly ultimate thing, we don't have this ultimate thing, then we can't correlate things otherwise. I'm getting excited here. We just showed you we can correlate things. Try again. Why do we need?
No,
an
I didn't say you.
thing?
Look, I'm saying I asked you if there is correlation between the particulars of the universe, and you said, so I'll ask you right now: is there a correlation between particulars? Are they correlated?
Some are, some are
not.
not.
So, for example, the laws of physics. Okay.
Okay. What about physics?
Are the laws of physics actually correlated to the particulars that the laws of physics reference?
So actually, physics and the way we understand it is described by us so that we can, better understand the world around us.
Right. There are no laws outside of physics that physics is adhering to. We describe physics as the laws of physics. They're not correlating to anything. They just are.
The fact that we're able to use physics just means we're doing a really good job of describing it.
Right.
No, the laws of physics is a language of, or it is a reference of correlation. There's correlation when you invoke the laws of physics. You are making statements about how things are correlated to each other. And the laws of physics themselves are representations of how the universe or how things are correlated to each other. What I'm asking you is there a correlation between any or all particulars that you hold to be existent in the universe?
Robin, I think you
if
might
you
need
say
to dumb
yes
it down for
to
me.
that question.
No, I think you might need to dumb it down for me. Can you help me a little bit more? What's an example that we can engage with? Remember, I'm just some asshole on the internet, Robin.
So for example, right. I mean, that's that's okay. I mean, look, we're talking about this. Is okay. If I have two red Legos on a table. Okay. Those two red Legos are correlated by the idea of Legos. So there is a category that they belong to.
Right.
Okay, that is Lego-ness.
Yeah,
okay, the number 1 and 2 they're correlated by the concept of numberness or numbers.
So I have so many questions. You just opened up. So are you talking about like Platonic, like it's relating to some other realm that we can exist? Are you a Platonist?
Yeah, I would consider myself one. Yes.
Okay.
Damn. Okay. I mean, that makes sense.
That's a straight answer.
Based on the conversation we've been having, that doesn't surprise me.
Okay.
It actually clarifies quite a bit, so thank you.
Yeah, okay. So pragmatically, when we're talking about subcategories, that's something that we did, right? We've classified all life on this planet according to genus and species. We've been doing our best to describe things and understanding the group that we're putting them under. That's all done by us.
Mm-hmm.
No, but they have essential properties to themselves, right? So if for example I said that the dog has green hair, okay, dogness must mean something, greenness must mean something, and hairness must mean something, irrespective of what we may tokenize them as, right?
Well,
irrespective of the label we ascribe to those things.
Okay, but counter. Imagine a dog, Robin. What kind of dog did you imagine just now?
What do you say?
What kind of dog comes into your head when I say dog? Describe the dog very briefly. Is it a poodle?
Nothing in. I mean, if I were a German Shepherd, I guess. I don't know. Nothing comes to my mind immediately, but yeah, German Shepherd, I guess.
German Shepherd. I imagined a Labradoodle.
Newfoundland.
Clearly, there is no essential concept of dogness beyond the fact that we all have a conception of what a dog probably looks like based on the dogs that we interact with or can pull up at a moment's notice. These things that you're describing, dogness, greenness, hairness, these are things that we have pointed to and described and agreed on as a society. This is what it means to be a dog. And everybody agrees with that to an extent and then can picture dogs in their brain. If you ask, I don't know, somebody from another country what a rooster says or what a frog says, it's going to be different than ribbit, ribbit, or cock-a-doodle-doo. Right. And that's because they have agreed simultaneously, apart from our language, that what a rooster says is something completely different. And cock-a-doodle-doo is frankly ridiculous, which it is.
But our describing it is not us tapping into some platonic realm in order to get that description.
I think what you're doing is you're talking more about language distinction, and that's not what I'm really referring to. You're talking about different ways we might tokenize a certain, object, and because people have different ways to tokenize them, then that's not what I'm talking about.
Okay,
I'm talking about
what's the distinction?
There are classes of things.
How do we determine the classes of things?
Ontologically. How do you determine them?
Yeah. How do you point at an animal and say that is a dog?
Depends on. Well, if you're going to talk like biologically, there would be a biological classification that would be specific to dogs.
Okay, so we determine that
a dog would have and something else would not have.
I agree. So we say, okay, how do we determine this is a dog? Well, here are the biological classifications that make this thing this label. That's not a platonic ideal. That's just us describing a certain set of biological factors.
Right, but those biological factors themselves would have to be correlated
to
in one way or another.
To what?
To each other.
Well, that's
still
linguistic.
Biology.
Yeah, and that's linguistic. We're describing a set of characteristics
that may or may not be correlated to each other or fundamental to the description of a dog, but we're still in the realm of science and biology. Where is this platonic ideal coming from, and how does it correlate to that biology?
That's the thing I'm telling you. When you keep making these language distinctions, and I'm telling you that's not what I'm talking about. You're talking past me at this point.
Well, I'm
not talking about language.
Let me try again here. When you're talking about a category, dog, we're saying that is a category that we created. We have a word, and we're talking about that category. I don't know how you can get any deeper than that. V pointed out all of these, so this is the subset, if it falls within all of these parameters, we're going to classify it as a dog. That's something that we as people do.
So I assume that you would believe in evolution, correct?
Yeah.
Sure.
I presume.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, before we existed, okay, did animals? I mean, it would just follow that certain animals existed before we did, correct?
That's correct.
Right. Okay. Now, these animals, okay, they had certain characteristics, correct?
Sure. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. Now, this was before we discovered them. This is before, even after we discovered these animals, right? We didn't fully have a knowledge of their specific characteristics. The point I'm saying is that each of these particulars that we're talking about, they have certain characteristics okay, that would classify them as something, right? They have certain essential characteristics.
Ooh, can I take a stab at this?
Okay.
Are you saying that? Do you think that we're saying that a chicken from 10 million years ago couldn't have had feathers because we weren't around to describe it as having feathers, and we hadn't invented the idea of, or the descriptor of feathers yet? Is that what you're saying?
Well, that sounds like that. To me, that sounds like that's what you're saying, because you're breaking up like language distinctions. That's what, similar to what you're saying.
Got it.
Okay, so let's clarify that. We're not doing that. I think that there are plenty of things about dinosaurs that were true about dinosaurs without us there to describe it. When we're talking about subcategories, we're grouping things, sure. And there could be other ways to group those things, but we decided on this. I don't think that there's any special value outside of that other than the descriptors that we're giving it, right? The words that we're using to describe it. I'm not saying it's dependent upon the words. There's not some magic that happens when we say a word. We don't speak things into existence. That's not how anything works. Instead, it's just us seeing the world around us going, hey, you know what? I'm going to call that a feather. Cool. Hey, so that's a feather, and we're going to, go from there. And it's just, you know what? I think I need to think about a better way to talk about this. Robin, this has been the most productive conversation with a presuppositional apologist ongoing that I've ever had.
I've enjoyed myself. And I think the one thing that I want to clarify for me is that I am purely identifying your example of all of us being able to identify and correlate a word with a concept or with a thing, right? Dog means this category of thing. The reason that it is present in all of our minds so obviously is not because of some platonic ideal, but rather because we have all talked about dogs before and agreed amongst ourselves that that thing is a dog. Now, if you were to say, hey, V, what's a flurgleburgle? I would be like, I don't fucking know, Robin, what the fuck is a flurgleburgle? And you would have to explain to me what it is, because we have not linguistically decided upon the definition and what that correlates to. So when you say we all have this tap into a platonic ideal, this correlation between a thing and what it means, what I'm saying is that the reason we have that is because we've all shared a language for so long that has become encoded. That falls apart if you try and use a word that has not been agreed upon by the society you're in.
I feel like I'm getting this really interesting view. Robin, I think I see what you're saying. And V, I see what you're saying. And I think we're talking past each other in a very specific way. And it is crazy interesting to me. People are saying, was this conversation productive? Well, let's see. We learned that Robin is a Platonist, right? You believe that there's some Platonic realm, right? If I'm holding an apple, it is only an apple because it is accessing some, perfect apple from which it is getting its appliness. It's tapping into the Platonic apple, right?
Right.
Okay. That
I
is
mean,
huge.
I would have phrased it that way, but I would say that, there's kind of an identity to it, right? It kind of relates to the law of identity, things like that. But yeah.
The only reason I'm bringing it up is because we learned something huge. We would not have been able to move forward in this conversation if it wasn't for that. Mm-hmm. You hopefully now know, if you're going to take away anything from this, and it feels like we're building a bridge and seeing and learning more about each other. And I don't know how many people find this interesting, but holy crap, is this interesting to me. So if you take away anything from this, we do not think that we speak things into existence. We think that when we talk about something, we have to come to understand what it means before we talk about it. But the idea of, you know what, Robin, I'm not sure how best to describe it. Could you call back? I want to think this week about how best to describe it, because I finally think I get what you think we're thinking, and I want to clarify it. But I don't know how to do that right now.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's fine. I could call in next week if I'm available. Sure.
Cool.
Awesome.
Interesting. I'm blown away. Okay, Robin, thank
All
you
right. Well,
thank you for calling in. Okay. We're getting somewhere. Okay, Robin, thank you for calling.
Yep.
We hope to hear from you soon.
yeah. Thanks for taking my call.
Absolutely.
All right. Thanks, Robin. You are excited.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm dropping the call, still dropping the call, and the call is dropped. All right.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. So he thinks that, because he's a Platonist, because he thinks that everything is related to this Platonic realm, that when we're talking about something, that we are Platonists as well, or are thinking in the same way. And so when we respond to him and we're talking about the way we define things,
Okay.
he's taking us defining things and plugging that into Platonism.
Oh, so he thinks we are evoking our own ideals based
Into
on
existence.
language.
Yes.
Oh.
And because of that, he's like, but things existed before you, V. Dinosaurs existed. They had traits. They didn't depend on you to talk about them.
Okay.
And
Well,
we took something entirely different. We were talking past him.
right.
We can get there, though.
Well, that's very optimistic of you.
We can do it, V. Everybody else, we can do it. We got this. If you're a pre-sup and you disagree with Robin, call in, because we're getting an understanding. And if you think it's entirely wrong, then you better correct us, because we want to move this forward.
All right. We've got 2 more calls on the line. Do we want to take these 2? I think Bree and Andrew both have good questions.
I think we can do a rapid fire of both, and then move into talking about reading out the
super chats.
The super chats. So
Sounds
let's take them both really quick. In the clips, we'll just do them both together and release them as one.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Let's start with Bree. Hey, Bree.
Hi.
Hey. So I know we don't have too much time, but you had a question for us.
Yes. So I notice a lot of theists go on and on about like metaphysics and how they frame things and they frame their arguments. And I went on a Google search and it just led me like in this giant circle that metaphysics are metaphysics. So like, what are they? What is it?
So I could be wrong, but the way I understand metaphysics is it's the umbrella term under which we're having this style of conversation.
Okay.
So if we're arguing existence and we're arguing, this branch of philosophical topics, we're talking about metaphysics.
Yeah, to my understanding, it is the group of philosophy that doesn't have to do with like the real world. So more morality and like the moral philosophy probably wouldn't be in metaphysics unless it correlated to a God concept, because it impacts us in our day-to-day. Ethics is something we talk about. It impacts our day-to-day, the concrete existence of our lives. Metaphysics is stuff like ontology, right? Cosmology, epistemology to an extent.
Sure.
The broader concepts about things out there, kind of like that. That is metaphysics as a whole, and there are subcategories, and we've blown through a lot of them today, actually.
We did. So what I'm really interested in is, for those of you who are watching, please write down in the comments, were you able to follow us? Do you want us to change the way we talk about these things? Because we want people to come along with us for the ride. And if we went way over everybody's heads at some point, we really want to know. If we were absolutely wrong, we also want to know. Let us know in the comments. If we didn't go deep enough, let us know.
We'll need to read some books.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess my main comment here would be to try to get them to specify exactly what kind of metaphysics they're talking about when they reference that, so that it isn't just like a catch-all phrase that kind of doesn't really mean anything unless you get a definition.
Yeah, I mean, there certainly is something to be said for making people use the correct definitions, the subcategories that they're referencing. It just becomes a matter of, is that the most interesting thing to watch us do?
Yeah. So
Okay.
if somebody asks, hey, Eric, what do you do for a living? And I really don't want to have that conversation. And I say, Oh, people actually argue with myself and my partner about metaphysics. Odds are they'll just glass over and be like, "That's cool."
Bye.
You know? Yeah.
Nice meeting you.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it's really good to ask for definitions and to ask for that specificity when you're having these conversations in your own interactions with people, because it's very easy for people to be like, oh, well, it's metaphysics, so it must be difficult to understand, and you should just accept what I'm saying because metaphysics are fancy. And that's not acceptable.
No, it is accessible. We're doing it right now. If you are talking with this about us, if you're engaging with this, you're engaging with metaphysics. And if you are talking about philosophy, thinking about philosophy, and, exploring those things, coming up with ideas and testing them and seeing how they bounce back and learning more, you're also a philosopher. There's not some gatekeeper that's telling you that, philosophers have to be published. Mm-hmm. You're watching this, you're engaging with this with us, you're a philosopher and you're dealing with metaphysics. I think you deserve a cookie.
We're going to get so many comments.
Yeah, gatekeepers in the comments.
Oh, yeah.
Come at us, bruh.
All right. Thanks for calling in, Bree.
Yep, thanks.
Thank you. All right. And then we have Andrew in New York. Andrew, can you hear us?
Hi, V. Yeah, hi, V. Hi, Eric.
Hello. What did you want to talk about?
I had a question for you guys about if you were doing like speaking tours or anything, because I'd love to come see you in person sometime.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. So the goal is to have at least once a year a speaking tour where we can travel across the states and do debates, discussions, presentations to skeptic atheist groups all over the United States. And then if that is successful, move it out to the world. It's something we absolutely want to do. We're just not there yet.
Not quite. Although I am in touch with my alma mater's philosophy and theology department, and we might be doing something in August. Might be. It depends. But we are in talks for this. So we are absolutely open to somebody saying, hey, can you come to this area and give a talk or have a debate? We are absolutely open. We're actively pursuing that on our end as well, either setting up events on our end or accepting invitations from people who want to debate us. Like in February, you and Dean Meadows will be debating. So we are absolutely, that's in the works. Right now, it's still very up in the air, but if you have suggestions or if you have places you'd like to see us, let us know. Email us at contactskepticgeneration@gmail.com, and we will definitely put you on the list.
Especially if you are in or are running an atheist skeptic group in your area. It may not be doable for one group, and that's totally understandable. But if you reach out and we get your name and we find out that you and a group the county over, and maybe, between 4 different groups, if we can get everybody together to get us out there, then we can come out and do that.
Absolutely.
We just need to build those connections. We need to build those bonds that we can reach out to. It's going to be a lot of networking on our part, but as soon as we can, hell yeah, we're going to do it.
Yeah.
All right. Sounds great.
Thank you.
Awesome.
What a great, thank you. Thank you for calling in.
Thanks so much, Andrew. Have a lovely rest of your day.
Yeah. Thanks. Love the show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're doing our best.
Thanks for watching.
Oh, you guys are doing great. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank
I watch
you so
every
much.
week.
Yay!
Good.
2 months solid now. That's pretty cool. Thanks, Andrew.
All right.
No problem. Have a good one.
You too.
Let's move into talking. Let's move into super chats. Let's read off the super chats.
Yes, please. Let's move into the super chats.
All right, Laura. We're a little later than we normally go. Laura Skeptic says, "I'd love you to talk about your pansexuality because I'm too. Congratulations on your new show. I'm a monthly patron from Laura, Oxford, England, UK. Much."
Yay! Well, thank you so much for being a patron, Laura. If you are interested in becoming a patron yourself, we're going to plug this one more time. We are $1 a show, $5 a show. Like, not a lot. It's what helps us do what we do and build towards this new studio that is going to be really awesome.
Yeah, and now's the time to get in under the radar while we're still
under the wire. We will know about you.
Yeah, under the wire. That's the right word. Under the wire, while we're still going to be grandfathering people in for more benefits than they would normally get afterward. But
as far as pansexuality goes, and I guess technically I would be considered pan. I like to use bi because that's the word that I found first, and also it pisses off TERFs, so like, sure, I'll use bi instead. But yeah, I'm attracted to people of all genders, or most genders, some more than others, and I think gender presentation is sexy as fuck.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not attracted to all gender presentations, but I am attracted to multiple that are not the same as each other, and that would also make me bi by your definition, or pan by yours.
Awesome. All right, Cooper Gates, $10. Thank you. Says, so how many believers' perspectives did you sway during the protest? Hoping the Ark fails or is repurposed so you can protest something else or perform other activism?
There was somebody who brought his son, who was 18, to the protest. I think they were there from Answers in Genesis, and it was a lot of fun. This kid had an open mind. He had great questions, has been researching epistemology, and wanted to talk about apologetics. And we gave him the show. Hopefully, hey, if you're watching, good on you. To be able to put yourself in a position where you're talking to people you don't agree with, and exposing yourself to different ideas. Kudos. We didn't convince too many people, but hopefully we got somebody who's challenging the world around them, and whether they agree with us in the end or not, hopefully they have a better understanding of the world because they questioned.
Absolutely.
Chimp donated $10, says, I live in Kentucky, but it's an 8-hour round trip to the Ark. Hope to meet you someday. Hope to meet you too. Totally understood.
The Blazing Wizard Pope, Tobin or not Tobin, that's another can of worms. I like that one.
Yeah, we might use that.
You might.
Fancy Monkey, $10, says, for all the great conversation and V's whiskey recommendations, you really are adorable in person.
Oh, yay! Fancy Monkey, I remember meeting you. That's awesome.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Keith Heath, $5, says, how much pizza would your microwave if your microwave could microwave pizza?
I no longer microwave pizza out of fear of
I win.
The shaming me. Dante Verona says, is the weekly sign-off now a comedy of errors? If the shoe fits, don't fix it. Wait, that's not how it goes. I like that. Yes.
If the shoe fits, don't fix it.
I love it.
I like that a lot. Gabe, 1964, $20, says, hopefully this will be enough for some Puerto Rican coffee. I would never say no to some good Puerto Rican coffee. Puerto Rican coffee specifically is very good. I think Puerto Rican, Nicaraguan, and Ethiopian are the three that I like best.
You're such a hipster.
I am.
Teach me.
Okay.
Let's do it.
We've started with you not microwaving pizza. Patience, young one.
Oh, I'm older than you. Okay. King Nick. Hey, Eric and V, it's my birthday today, so I thought I'd send you a little Hobbit birthday present. It's always a pleasure listening to your stuff. Keep on being amazing. I love you both. Happy birthday, King Nick.
Happy birthday, and thank you so much for that amazing reference. I was going to say that, and then I saw that you actually put it in there, and that made me very happy. Hobbits give other people birthday presents for their birthday.
I love it. Okay.
I think that that's awesome. All right, and then Randy gave $5, says your outro should be, we're glad we had this talk.
Referencing the opening line, we are Skeptic Generation and we need to talk.
Randy, I like that a lot. I'm going to be mulling over that, but that is really good, actually.
So let us know how we're doing. We're only at 8 episodes in. Hit subscribe, hit the like button, share this out, let other people know about it, and let us know what kind of content you want to see, because we are adjusting, we're changing things, we're trying things, and we want to make the best show we can. But until next time.
Bottoms up, and the devil laughs.
Wait, the monster thing?
Yep.
Oh,